streets that really changed. It ain't been the same. It was bad, but got worse after the hurricane.
Gets high till I can't focus, with the main focus to remain focused. They ain't focused.
I show you what a boss do with a white beater and toothpick, 40 caliber and a new whip.
Stumbling from the Cavassier, and I say, hey, it make me run your place and take your pops away.
The Hot Boys, 1997, featuring Lil Wayne, Juve, BG, and Lil Turk. One of the coldest times in hip-hop was when we still had groups and posses in the mix representing an idea and truth about success. No one achieves it exclusively on their own. At some point, you have to be able to build a team around that energy that, if it gets big enough, are there to run it as well. It'll be hard-pressed to find any rapper, especially that came up in any era before social media really took off in the last 10 years, that hasn't gotten their start as part of a group. Whether a small group that didn't last very long and was created at the infant stages to ease the artists into getting their feet wet on stage to help with the nerves, or a group like the Hot Boys that made it to global fame and their stories still being paid to be told today. I still see major platforms like Vlad TV and others feature Hot Boys, specifically Turk, and some places Juvenile and BG since his return home. The group era produced legends in the game that all had to walk away as the idea of sharing became less and less practiced as the world moved more towards celebrating the individual. Me personally, I think hip-hop groups became less of a thing around the time Jay-Z, Diddy, and 50 Cent began pushing their billionaire goals onto everyone in hip-hop, making it a race to achieve the most individual success, and everyone else saw that and decided to focus on their own business as well. Now that it's as easy as getting online and posting a song and you can be at least internet famous, the hip-hop group is likely never to return to the forefront. With that said, it's fun to remember some of the favorites growing up that were like our Ninja Turtles or Power Rangers, something we could imitate with our friends, rapping the verses of our favorite and discussing the qualities of mine that make him better than yours. It was a fun time, and one of the groups that made it that way was the Hot Boys. To me, they had everything as a kid listening to their music. It started with the OGs who invested the seeds to grow the flowers of major solo artists like Juve, Lil Wayne, BG, and Turk. Even Manny Fresh and Baby were able to come from behind the scenes to the spotlight and be viable artists as a duo and solo. You had the baby OGs like Juve and BG that related to the older crowd, and you had the youngsters, the future in Lil Wayne and Turk, who was supposed to carry the torch into the 2010s and be their own OGs in the 2020s. Cash Money was supposed to live on, and the Hot Boys had everything needed to do so. They're all still alive today. But that never came close to happening, as just as fast as they were hot, they disbanded and even started taking shots at one another still to this day. Legendary group that could have been the biggest in hip-hop history, but for these reasons, their growth was stunted. What happened? Let's talk about it. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth Music. Let's get it, man. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. The Hot Boys were a group formed in 1997 by Cash Money Records, an independent label started and ran by Bryan Baby Williams and Ronald Slim Williams in '91, brothers from the Magnolia Project's 3rd Ward, Uptown New Orleans, Louisiana, that grew up learning the idea of survival as young as 5 years old as Baby was, losing their mother and having to be placed in a group home for years before moving to their father's packed home in the projects. They learned how to hustle and create business from their father and implemented that into music, starting their own label, later signing a deal with Universal on a 70-30 split for $30 million. Cash Money began looking for and signing local artists like BG and Juvenile, 2 young rappers gaining local fame, Lil Wayne, who came on at just 13 years old, and Lil Turk, not to mention Baby's nephew Lil Derek. They formed the Hot Boys and everything blew up from there. Universal would come into the picture in '98, taking the Hot Boys to another level. Their singles and features on each other's singles like Cash Money is an Army, Bling Bling, Respect Us, Back That Thing Up, You Understand, and more solidified them as the new hot it group in hip-hop, and everything became about Cash Money and the Hot Boys. Stunt number 1, the initial disbandment. For those that don't know, the Hot Boys were a group that lasted only a short time, although it may seem their artists were around forever. They released their first album in '97, and by 2001, artists had already began to leave. Their last album together with all the pieces intact was in 1999, just 2 years after their first release. Like all things done together, there's always the threat of feelings being hurt, or one person feeling slighted in some way. Maybe they aren't getting the shine they feel they deserve, or the real root of all problems, money. When their debut Get It How You Live dropped, it was the introduction to a group that was still hungry and optimistic. It sold 300,000 behind BG's local success after his debut album Chopper City, not to mention Juve's '95 album Being Myself. They signed with Universal and released Juvenile's 400 Degrees album that went 4 times platinum. The Hot Boys could be seen on features like Back That Thing Up and Ha, on verses or in the videos, gaining interest and pushing its individual members at the same time. Then in 1999, Cash Money and the Hot Boys had their biggest year ever. BG released his single Bling Bling featuring the Hot Boys and his album April that year that went platinum. Bling Bling became the hottest song in the country and one of the South's biggest records ever. It led to the Hot Boys' second album Guerrilla Warfare in July 1999 that also went platinum, becoming their biggest to date. It would also be their last. By 2001, Juvenile had left the group, claiming financial mismanagement. Then by 2003, he, BG, and Turk had all left, in Turk's words, because the atmosphere wasn't the same, leaving Lil Wayne the only one left. Birdman decided to run with Lil Wayne as the face of Cash Money and the Hot Boys, as he believed Wayne of them all had whatever it was. Cash Money and the Hot Boys could have been dominant for 10 more years, but after the Universal deal and real money became involved, Juvenile was the first domino that changed the atmosphere and gave the group its first growth stunt. Stunt number 2, Lil Wayne. Everything surrounding Lil Wayne is a huge reason the Hot Boys didn't stay together and aren't working even today. Let's be clear, Lil Wayne was a complete star in the making since day one. He was the youngest Hot Boy, therefore had the potential longevity-wise to one day be at the forefront, but it came sooner than expected, and the resentment for that became obvious. As Baby himself said, Wayne just had it. Of all the Hot Boys, Wayne could relate to a younger generation, which in hip-hop youth is always coveted, almost like in sports. On top of that, Wayne had the most talent and the most personality and charisma. He stole the show every time they were together. On their biggest song, Bling Bling, that could have easily been a Wayne song featuring the Hot Boys, as he delivered a classic hook and his verse was always a standout on the track. Even the video Wayne represented what the Hot Boys look and felt like at the time, and in my opinion, it bred envy within the group. It was clear Wayne was being built to be the star of the show, and Juvie was the first to feel he didn't have to accept that and left the label. Wayne released The Block Is Hot in '99, his debut that went platinum and became a top 3 album in the country, hotter than Juvie and BG's '99 releases. When Juvie made it about money and left in 2001, he opened the door for BG and Turk to leave, changing the face of Cash Money to an artist that was good enough to carry the label on his back by himself. His success shut the idea of the Hot Boys down long enough for artists like Turk and BG to receive lengthy prison sentences and time to fade the Hot Boys out. Stunt number 3, unable to reunite. Wayne's rap success was a great thing for Cash Money, but not so good for the Hot Boys. Even though Juvie left in 2001, he returned in 2003 to release his Juvie the Great album on a 1-album solo deal, so there was space for all the members to come back and recreate that atmosphere Turk said they lost in his Vlad TV interview. But time saw Turk turn to drugs, along with going to prison from 2004 to 2012 on drugs and attempted murder charges after he shot at police who were there to search his home with a warrant. BG was arrested on weapons charges in 2009 and charged with witness tampering in 2012 while serving a 14-year sentence, released in 2023. Over the years, fans still had interest in seeing the Hot Boys together, but every time there was a chance at it happening, unfortunate incidents took place and prevented them reuniting. That or resentment still within the group and its members, or members and founder Birdman, who seems petty enough to rather not win further than to see the guys he built that left him have any chance at future success. Even he and Lil Wayne have failed to see eye to eye for over a decade now, Wayne even refusing to perform with or on behalf of Cash Money and the Hot Boys. At Essence Fest 2024, he refused to join the Hot Boy reunion on stage, performing a 20-minute set by himself and stating he was only there on behalf of his sub-label Young Money. Turk was also not in attendance, he and BG further fueling the internal beef, taking shots at each other in the supposed reunion's wake. The Hot Boys being unable to reunite at any point is one of the saddest group stories ever in hip-hop. All in all, groups aren't built to last forever. At some point, when money is big enough, some parts of the group will fall out. Then adding real street individuals to a street rap group operating in real-world business, there's always the chance of real jail time interrupting plans. When time gets a hold of the situation, the energy fades and people all move on. Tis the story of the Hot Boys. Salute, much respect, but for these reasons, their growth was stunted. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth Music, and I'm out.